This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, and I'm sitting here in the beautiful town of Clovis, joined by somebody that is known for making a difference in this community. Somebody that has also lost his mind slightly because he's decided to run for Congressional District 21 against the dreaded Jim Costa.
I am running for new ideas. I'm not running against that guy.
Well, life would be better if we could just move on.
Well, it's now an opportunity for the public to make that decision.
In Congressional District 21, there's all kinds of challenges unique to the Valley.
Absolutely.
13% or so are non-citizens of the total population of that district. I'm not sure how many are illegal, but I assume a very high percentage. English is a second language in about 50% of the homes in this district. So if you can't fluently speak English, it's a lot harder to access the American dream. And I want everybody to do that, regardless of where they come from, as long as they came legally. Mm-hmm. You've got a poverty rate that's close to 23%. Mm-hmm. And you've got largely an ag-based economy. You've got a little bit of the southern part of Fresno, the town of Reedley, several other small towns.
The majority of Tulare County is all ag.
Yeah.
You don't have as much of a manufacturing base. Fresno has a little bit more than Tulare, yes.
And you've got the north end of Visalia, kind of your 198 north. Is that the?
Yes.
They've redistricted a little bit, so I'm not as clear.
No, the 198 is your southern boundary for the most part. Most of Exeter has been cut out. You only get a little dog leg out of that. Wood Lake is your eastern boundary, and then up to Reedley, and then across on the 180 back into Clovis. And you've got Tarpey, a small little segment of Clovis has been cut out. Okay. And you've got Fresno State has been added to. Before that was cut out. Now it's included. So they've carved out this little community quite well. And it is very challenging.
Well, you've also got a pretty young group of people in this district. Mm-hmm. In other words, there's got to be, to make the average, I think the median is about 31 years old. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go with approximate, because if you go to a different website, it might tell you slightly different, but it's somewhere in that age range. Mm-hmm. That means that youth are typically not as engaged in politics. They're busy doing other things.
Yes.
How do you turn that to your advantage?
Well, I've my objective has been to engage leveraging all social media outlets because most of the youth, that's where they spend their time. So trying to connect and communicate a story there, that's the starting point. And two, make myself as accessible as possible at all of the events, which there's quite a few, but trying to connect with the youth, but more importantly, the community.
Well, okay. If you're out at events, and I know you are because I go to a lot of events, how would they find out your schedule?
Well, I tried my best to communicate that through social media and put it out there as much as possible. And then the other part is I got so many volunteers who are participating to try to expand our reach so that we get our message out to as far and wide of a community as possible.
So you're not paying for people to walk for you. You've got people that believe in you and are out walking for you.
I can tell you this. Everyone that's out there is volunteering.
Okay.
Everyone is volunteering. We are not paying for walkers.
Well, some of your opponents are, without naming names.
Sure, yeah.
I know many of those walkers personally, and it's encouraging to see that they found a candidate they believe in. That's a large part of why I tend to only have candidates where I don't have to agree on everything, but they have to be somebody I can believe in.
Sure.
Somebody that represents a set of values. Party is almost like team. And I don't know that parties are as useful in a lot of ways as they used to, particularly in California. They might be more sane in other states. I don't know what's going on in every state. But if I look at what the Republicans are standing for, which is often not very much in the state of California, they're maybe a little better than they were when I first started paying attention, but if they were getting a D before, they're getting a D+. So how would you define that problem between, or the disconnect between parties and values?
Well, one of the challenges with parties have labels. Labels and titles tend to address egos. labels and egos don't address issues. Our community's suffering. They have real challenges that you can't roll up into a soundbite. You have to listen. And part of it is having the time to listen and to engage the community with solutions. Not party platforms that sometimes forget that the area that they're talking to, if you're talking manufacturing and you're out in an ag base only environment where manufacturing isn't real, I'm sorry, it's not going to resonate. Some of these communities, it's about water. I mean, right now we have so many fields going fallow for one reason, water. Not because of the soil quality, not because of lack of labor, water. We've turned off the water. And there, you want to talk about anything, you better talk about water. And this is where we need to listen.
So you're saying the economic engine for your district revolves around agriculture, and agriculture revolves around water.
In this area, I would tell you water is one of the biggest things. It can't be a soundbite. It can't be something that's secondary or tertiary. It's got to be a primary conversation that how do we get water flowing to the fields so that the ground can be have the moisture it needs so that we can see the crops that will bloom and grow.
Well, we let an awful lot of water go out to the ocean without capturing it. We don't have recharge facilities that cities do, but there are not countywide water recharging facilities for the years where we have more water. Mm-hmm. We don't have enough storage. Outside of your district, but not very far, is Temperance Flat.
Yep.
Where would you stand on Temperance Flat?
Let me tell you, on every one of our spaces, I want us to grow capacity across the board, build capacity, reinforce the infrastructure that we have. Right now, how much water is lost every year because of the aging infrastructure and the damage to the canals. We'll see seepage that will lose so much water there. We are allowing a travesty to take place because in many cases, we're playing the impossible game. We're putting these social justice ideas over the humanity of our community.
Well, they're often doing it in the name of climate change.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I want to point out that the economies that are successful, where people have a decent cost of living and a decent expectation that they're going to do reasonably well, they're taking care of the environment better than when we look around the world at more challenged places, at poorer places where they're still burning firewood to heat their homes.
You want to find an environmentalist, you go talk to a farmer. These folks, they are so incredible at recycling, at maintaining their soil, maintaining the environment, that if we could listen to what they're doing and learn from them, there's a win-win. We could absolutely find a win-win here. I think that if we were more effective at making sure that the monies that are being made available for infrastructure is made available for infrastructure and not funneled out into other projects, we would see progress. I want to see roads that are actually cared for so that our arteries here are maintained, so that the supply chains are well maintained. Right now, we have done very little to ensure that the supply chain is healthy. Eric, right now the 99, you have one accident on the 99, you have choked the north-south axes. That's incredible for the fourth largest economy to have that kind of an Achilles. Yes, you can say, well, you can go over to the 5. Oh yes, have you tried to cross over to the 5? And now this darn rail to nowhere that's now going to be $231 billion. Talk about a waste, fraud, and abuse.
Well, and it took productive farmland.
Absolutely. It took from our farmers. It has impacted the space. You want to talk about environmental impact. There's your environmental impact. The same people who keep arguing environmental are the ones who are devastating the space, but seem that's legitimate? Come on. This is where common sense needs to be brought back to the conversation and really address the needs of the people.
Well, I know the people in this county pretty well. Mm-hmm. Mostly I know the Fresno County, but I know quite a number of people outside of the county. And the things that they're concerned are things like cost of living or having no voice at a state government level and having very little voice at a federal level from California because there are such a small percentage of, let's say, conservatives. I won't even say Republicans that are up there in Washington representing congressional districts in California. Out of the 54, what is there, 13 Republicans?
I think so.
And I wouldn't even call all of them conservatives.
Well, one of the things that I think we'd be remiss if we didn't address is the fourth branch of government, the administrative state. How much of what we're suffering and we're seeing an increase to our cost of living is not through an elected means. It's not something that we voted for. CARB, here's an example. How many initiatives and regulations have they imposed that have increased our costs? Those costs, when you increase costs in any aspect, there's a trickle effect that ultimately goes back to our cost of living. We didn't vote for it, but some administrative branch is now imposing these realities on us, and this is increasing our costs.
Well, they're doing that through regulation, making every farmer's life dramatically more difficult. And what we got to realize is that we feed not only the state, but we feed the nation fresh fruits, produce, and we feed the world.
Absolutely.
In one of the most efficient farmlands there is. And instead of helping that thrive, it's like they're trying to hold it down.
You know, as I travel, one of the things I see are some resilient communities that no matter how much they turn the screws on them, they try to find that silver lining. I talk to dairymen, I talk to farmers, I talk to cattlemen, and they all have this outlook that somehow or another looks beyond the storm. They try to find that silver lining.
Well, I don't think you survive in farming because it's long hours. You know, I grew up in a family where I had an uncle that was a cattle rancher.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I worked on that ranch every summer for 15 years, and have done everything that has to do with livestock, pretty much cattle, whether it's on a dairy or a cattle ranch.
Sure.
It's hard work. You either love the job and have an optimism, or you get out.
Well, there's where you learn that sacrifice is part of life. And the work ethic that you find out there, which quite frankly I think would be a great value for all of us to spend a little time out there. Mm-hmm. With this crazy heat and the sacrifice that's required to get out of the comfy air conditioning to be out there doing the hard work, the good Lord's work, because if they don't do it, we don't eat. Mm-hmm. Our dairymen, our cattlemen, all of this remarkable fruits that we enjoy, that we take for granted, it doesn't come by accident. There's some hard work that needs to be done to enjoy it.
It's not magically there at the grocery store?
Well, most folks would believe that that's the way it takes. You just go to Trader Joe's and voila, there it is. Go to a grocery store and there's where you can pick up your chicken. I
haven't spent much time out of the country, a little bit when I was a kid in Mexico, but the options weren't there. I was shocked even as a kid how much more limited the options were when we went to a grocery store as opposed to a grocery store here. And the parts of Mexico we were in were not particularly poor. I can't imagine. You know, there's many countries that are much worse off than Mexico around the world. And we are spoiled, but we don't seem to be appreciative.
I don't think we fully understand how blessed we are. You go to any of these European countries that, you know, they're the leaders of the Western world, or so they would like to have you believe. You go to France, you go to Italy, you go to London. You don't have the access that you have here. I mean, you go to a grocery store, you're going to find almost anything. Over there, you're going to find that's much more specialized. Something as simple as my boys discovered that when you get a hotel room over there, not all of them have air conditioning. And that was a rough reality to come up with. And ADA, you know, around here, we really do our best to care for everyone. Mm-hmm. And access is something paramount that we try to make available. Over there, you'll find that those with disabilities have a very difficult time walking those cobble streets or the small little narrow pathways. It doesn't make it for easy access with a walker or a wheelchair.
So we do have an opportunity here. Unlike a lot of the world, we just don't appreciate it. nonetheless, you're running for a district that is challenged. What would be some specific solutions to help bridge those gaps, whether it's educating youth, involving youth, or maybe combining together efforts to do something about manufacturing?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I don't believe in bigger government. First and foremost, I'm not looking to see how much bigger we can make a government here. What I've discovered that the greatest success comes, if you want to make some real solutions take place, is you get interagency coordination and collaboration.
Okay.
What do I mean by that? The Department of War tries to provide, I'll use the veterans as an example, transition assistance. So as they transition, they try to help them with their resumes and they try to connect them with employment and so on and so forth. They do a horrible job. Worst job ever. It's a contract that's bid out, and of course the lowest bid wins. What they discover is that the person who is doing the training, for the most part, doesn't have much experience in it. But more importantly, they're not connected to the community. Mm-hmm. What we've done here locally is, I'll use the example with the Veterans Memorial District. Working with our county veteran service officer, we brought our EDD and all of these local, from county to state, organizations whose job is to get people employed, whose job is to connect them to resources. We bring them in. And instead of creating another agency that tries to reproduce this, which creates all this redundancy and costs, I think, a waste of money, we bring those specialists in. And now what happens is that person gets the training, gets the specialization access, and when they're done, they're ready to be employed. We have seen almost a 90% success rate of employment of our veterans through this means, by not trying to reproduce something, but by connecting them to the resources itself and then connecting them right to employment.
So the solution was already here.
Absolutely.
It was more about connecting the dots and streamlining the system.
That's it. For me, for the Congressional office, one of the most powerful things that the office brings is the convene and confer. The idea of having the Congressional office facilitate this connecting of best practices. As I travel through the Valley, I will tell you, we have some pioneers in so many different areas, like the San Joaquin Manufacturing Alliance. Let me tell you, in the state, a lot of folks don't realize, California has the largest manufacturing in the union. Mm-hmm. Within California, I'm going to tell you, here in the Central Valley, what these folks have done is absolutely incredible. Working with Betts Company, Mike Betts, a family-owned business for over 100 years, they chose to keep their business here when, by all accounts, there was every incentive to move out. They've stayed here. And one of the things they've chose to do is to create an alliance of these different manufacturers and to listen to each other and learn from each other and then connect both the business side and the education side and the youth side and put them all together. And what they have done is absolutely incredible. Now what we need to do is share that information throughout the Valley.
Notice that wasn't a government solution.
Absolutely. This is grassroots. And that's where I think where public servants, remember, servant is probably the most important part of their title. And how do they leverage the public resources to maximize the opportunity for the public that they serve? Not grow it or take more from them, but actually reduce how much they take and increase how much they put out. And it's possible.
So on day one, what would be an easy win if you were elected?
Easy win. I think connecting internships and apprenticeships in the manufacturing field. I think one of the missed opportunities that I see right now are employers who have a hard time getting some quality workers to come in, and youth who have a lot of talent but lack the business acumen and the skill. Put those two together, and I think where we could afford tax incentives to have the youth working alongside employers. Employers now have opportunities to work with the youth, have an incentive where the education also works alongside them. And I would offer you CART as an example. CART has done a fantastic job.
Okay, define who CART is.
CART is this collaboration between Fresno and Clovis, where it's the Center for, I need to look that up.
We'll come back to that part.
I need to.
So just keep talking and I'll look up CART.
Yeah. So CART is an incredible ecosystem of professionals who come together, and you have students from both communities, and they work together, and they get business leaders to come in, and they get a hands-on training. And what you see there are students who are excited about learning. And this is where you also get the students who are excited about the value of what they learn. So math doesn't have just a theoretical aspect. There's a practical aspect when you start machining.
So you make it more hands-on. You connect it to reality. Because my biggest problem with a lot of classes that I took were, I'm never going to use this.
I hear that all the time. And our kids are much smarter than we realize, because these little devices now allow them to access information much quicker. So now the question that they have is, so what? Why does this matter? If we can't connect the dots faster for them, you've lost them.
And CART is the Center for Advanced Research and Technology.
That's it. The Center for Advanced Research and Technology. A great program that came together. I don't understand why we don't have more of that and more of them. Right now, it's a very small niche of folks who get to be a part of it. I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see that when students graduate high school, they have a skill, they have some work experience, and they have a job. Where we have that, we see a transfer in the local outlook.
Well, I know there's a real problem in your district, frankly in the Central Valley, where the kids that are very motivated and successfully go through school, and then they don't stay.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens a lot. What do we do to get them to want to stay in this community?
Well, you see, one of the challenges that we have right now is that we've incentivized a departure from businesses leaving to the youth leaving, because where hope doesn't exist, there is no place for them to be. And that's one of the reasons I'm choosing to be here. I've got 3 boys. By all accounts, all very successful. 2 of them have already moved out of state. They live in North Carolina. They keep asking me, Dad, when are you going to move? I did not serve.
I love North Carolina, but I'd love California more.
Well, I love this I love this country so much, and I love this state, because this is still the Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
We've done everything we can to make it look anything like that, but we still walk on the ground that has the richest soil, that has the greatest resources. We still have the most beautiful environment, and the greatest roads, that if we could just make the dollars go back towards fixing them and remove some of this regulation so that we can actually drill and bring back the refineries, we can see the price of fuel go down, increase energy resources. Nuclear should be an option that we have around here that brings down the cost. We should not have a stranglehold on energy where we are making the public pay dearly.
Well, but in California, we've got all these mandates that say it has to be clean energy. They don't include nuclear.
Right.
They don't include hydroelectric.
Hydroelectric. My goodness, what a clean form. We could use that and have water as it flows produce energy for us in a way that could see a drop in our energy costs, and that would make a sizable difference in so many areas. Because people don't understand, when you bring down energy costs, there's a trickle effect. Because if cold storage can drop their costs, if transportation of these resources to and from can be reduced, it comes down to the ticket counter. When you go and cash out at your grocery store, you will see a savings there.
Right. Not necessarily immediately, but the market corrects faster than the government can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is where we have to realize that these ideas that are being imposed, like the type of solar requirements. Now, if you build a house, you have to install a car charger, electric car charger in your home. That's an additional cost that's been put on there. How does that improve the quality of your life if you can't even afford that electric vehicle, let alone your electric bill? But you've added another requirement that has increased the cost of your home, which has made it less accessible.
Not just your home, every new home.
Yes. And how about these additional taxes of the distance from where you live to where you work? If it exceeds a certain mileage, now there's a tax that's imposed on the builder, which the builder then puts it on you. We are now, once again, we're making this almost like the impossible dream to be held here. And when I say that I'm fighting for the American dream, Eric, you and I have lived it. We have lived it. And while we have lived different lives, I can safely say that we have lived the American dream.
Oh, amen. And I'm blessed to have done so.
And as have I. I've grown in the orchards. I went from the orchards to serving in the military, to being blessed with the opportunity of leading troops in different battlefields, where I got to see the most beautiful form of leadership and selfless sacrifice, where as soon as people would put down their weapons, they were the first people that we were there to care for, and you saw the compassion and service in every one of our service members.
By the way, I believe you were a Marine?
I was a Marine originally. The Marines are what got me out of the orchards, and Marines got me out of my head as well. I didn't serve very long in the Marine Corps. Although my longest term in service was in the Army, the Marine Corps was the space where they didn't want to hear what I had to say, because one of the most beautiful things I learned from the Marine Corps was show me. And this required me to do what I didn't think was possible, but what you think limits you with what you are able to do because you think you can't do it. In the Marine Corps, I was more afraid of that drill sergeant with that smoky hat that he had on. And that, I'll tell you, when he said go, I was going. And that was the drill that they taught you. But what I discovered was it got me past my fears of what I couldn't do. And I discovered how much more I could do.
So your expectations were limiting your reality.
Absolutely.
And they shattered your expectations and gave you a different mindset.
They gave me a mindset of everything's possible. And that's the mindset I have when I come to this valley. So for everything that I'm told I can't do, I say bring it. Here in America, I know it's possible. If it can be done anywhere, it'll be done right here.
I think the people that haven't fled, and I understand why a lot of people have fled California, but the people that haven't fled, they have to be an optimist because they believe there's going to be change. Mm-hmm. And they have to be creative. California has been stuck in this loop for about 20 years of doing the same thing over and over again. And I think our greatest opportunity is this next election to change that loop. I'm not saying necessarily always Republicans are the answer. I'm saying one party rules corrupt. And the person you're running against, is he served 12 terms or is he running for his 12th term?
Well, he's been in office, in this specific office since 2009. He has been in elected office since 1978. So
he hasn't really ever done anything else.
He graduated college and he went straight into public service, and that's what he's done. He's made public office his life.
Yeah, when I've called his office or tried to talk to him, I really get shined on. So I don't see it as they're focused on public service. They're marginally polite. I've called other offices, and even offices that profoundly disagreed with my perspective, and they were very polite. I don't get that with Jim Costa's office.
I think everybody's experience is a little different.
Well, I've called like 4 times, and I've talked to 4 different people, and I've gotten that same. So I would guess it's cultural if 4 different people are kind of like, yeah, you're wasting my time.
Look, the public has enjoyed Jim, and I don't question their motives. I think it's time for some change, and what we've done so far hasn't gotten us where we need to be. Mm-hmm. I see more poverty. I see less opportunity, and I see a greater degradation of the conditions as we see less water flowing. We're expected to lose almost 35% of our fields, all because of a choice not to allow water flow. Where we have the water, God has provided us the resource, yet we see it flow not towards where it needs to go. We have the capacity to build. We could build more storage capacity.
We even have one paid for in Sykes Reservoir, which is quite a ways north of here, but every place where you give relief, the way the water system works, as you move down the chain, that's a little pressure taken off of each place.
I was talking to you earlier about there's great examples. We've got different organizations here in the Valley that are addressing water, from the Water Blueprint to Friant. I mean, there's so many different great organizations and people who are looking to work collaboratively to find solutions. This is where, if we get an objective to have a solution and get results as part of the dialogue, I am confident we can see results. But right now, where budgets are fungible and government agencies sometimes see their definition of success by how they can grow their budget, I think that's a problem right there. We need to see public agencies show results. Where public agencies are not providing results, it's a public agency that needs to go away.
Well, and we're moving from a place of baseline budgeting. By that, I mean, this was our budget last year, so it automatically has to be the same rather than evaluating whether we got what we should have for our money, for the number of employees.
Well, let's look at the train and over. The incumbent here, this is his claim to fame, the high-speed rail. That was what he led with, and this has been his claim to fame. $31 billion. That was supposed to be that was the sticker shock in of itself.
Well, but I want to point out that Japan and where was it? It was somewhere in Europe. I think it was France, for approximately the same money, built about the same length of high-speed rail, and they got it done.
Well, now,
but we didn't.
Now, 10 years past due, and now we're looking at a bill of $231 billion, and we still don't see rail. How can we accept that as success? And when do
there's one aspect where you can see it as a success. They created a whole lot of union jobs, and those unions made sure that they donated to the same exact politicians so that the loop continued. It's like a doom spiral. That's how I see the bullet train.
My concern in all of this is it is digging deeper into the pockets of the folks of our valley that currently within the state that has the largest unemployment. I think the national average is about 4.3, 4.4. California is at a little over 5%. Here in Fresno, the Central California area, we're at 8%. That's ridiculous. Twice the national average. We're almost 3 to 4 points higher than the state average, where the state has the highest in the nation. We have the largest unemployment in the state. So much of it's seasonal work. So much of it is ag based, and so much of it is ag that's been reduced because of our choices, the policies that have been imposed. None of it makes sense. The people suffer. This is where something has to change.
You can't fix this on your own.
No.
So you're going to need a team.
Absolutely.
From the political perspective, who's your team? Who do you work with that you believe can help you make a difference?
Well, I'll tell you, we've got some great people, from Ali Macedo in the assembly to David Tangapa, that I'm so proud of. You know, Shannon Groves she's been a pioneer, and I expect to see Nathan Magsig get in there. He's a fighter. I expect him to do some great work in there. There's two parts to this, because so much of what I've just described is state, and I can't touch that. As a federal officer, my job is to see how we're able to leverage the federal side to serve locally. So much of what we see right now, almost $2 worth of our gas, is all state imposed, all regulatory. That, quite frankly, we get the right governor in place, we could see an impact right away. And so this is where votes matter. And this is where I hope a lot of folks take the time to vote and look at the candidates for what they believe in, and to make sure that we're not investing in the same crazy ideas with just a new name. This is where I believe a conservative will make a difference. I really do.
On the federal level, do you feel like there's people that you could work with that would help fix the federal side of water?
Well, look.
I know that's a little harder question, because there's less opportunities.
Yes and no. But here's the part I can say. We currently have a president who put out a couple of executive orders that have already made it a point of expediting water to the farmers, to get water to where it belongs. Now, we need to make sure that we work collaboratively, and this is where David Valadeo and Vince Vaughn, I look forward to working with him. I think that we can work together, Tom McClintock, where we could see a coalition really work together to see some water in our valley. I would like to see some infrastructure. The infrastructure is so important. But I also want to work with the Bureau of Land Management and seeing what we can do there. And also the Corps of Engineers, how can we reduce times on permitting process? Because when permits take so long to process, it costs go up. And that's just plain and simple. So how do we reduce time? How do we reduce regulation? How do we get dollars to the projects that are shovel ready? And how do we get out of the way of our businessmen and our cattlemen and our farmers, and instead walk alongside them and assist them in their efforts? Where we do that, I see a golden age for our state, where the golden state becomes golden and the California dream is made available so that the American dream is achievable.
I think all that needs to happen is for government to get out of the way. Largely.
Absolutely. Plain and simple. If we're not there to assist, then get out. What was it? Reagan's, the scariest term was, I'm from the government, I'm here to help.
Yep.
Be afraid. Very afraid.
Yeah, that seems to exemplify what's been happening in California. But I think those of us that have dug in and decided we're not leaving, for instance, I've been self-employed since I was 22, but I recently bought a business that is related to the business I was in and took on a larger responsibility. I bought into California because I believe that it can be fixed, that there is hope, and that we can change it. But it's going to take more than just government. Who would be your team that would help you get things done that is not involved with the government?
Oh my goodness. Here's where I'm so proud of this community, from the Lions Club to the Elks to the Legion, the American Legion, the VFW, the DAV, the Disabled American Veterans. American Legion is veterans, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Rotarians. Let me tell you, there are so many public servants that are here and are serving. In my current role as the CEO of the Clovis Veterans Memorial District, my greatest accomplishment is getting out of the way. And my way of getting my hands dirty is by helping those who are already in the breach, making things happen. And instead of competing, and this is where we stood up these round tables where we bring all of these nonprofits together. And their challenge is not to compete, because where we compete, we undermine each other, and sometimes we split the dollar so many different ways that it becomes almost inconsequential. We undermine each other's efforts. When we realize that sometimes one organization is better postured to make the change, we complement and we work with them. So by bringing these organizations together, we have been able to make some big differences in our community. These are the kind of efforts that I look forward to working with in the Valley, because in all of these outlying areas, we have volunteers. This is where we can get support to those volunteers so that they can accomplish their local efforts in making a difference, whether it's the Kiwanis helping the kids, Rotarians looking at supporting local initiatives, the veterans helping out. Here's another example, the American Legion. The American Legion has Legion baseball. Now, why is that important? In some of these outlying communities, some of our kids don't have good role models. Some of these kids don't have access to some of these sports because it's just too expensive. Our Legionnaires, they have Legion baseball that make it available for our kids to now have good role models. The sports paid for. The veterans have purpose. They're working with the kids, and ESPN has a national tournament every single year that televises the outcomes of these state tournaments. This year, as a matter of fact, in July, we're bringing the state championship here to Clovis. Another example of where we didn't grow government, we actually helped those who are serving our community along, where we are able to grow the event and serve the community without increasing a dollar in expenditure, but we're making a bigger difference.
So you're finding people that are already successful and empowering them.
Empower them, yes. Where the government tries to be the answer to everything, be careful, because government does not measure success the same way a business does or the public does.
Well, that was like my example about high-speed rail. I think they see it as a success because they've had all those union jobs and they've been able to provide a living, but they got nothing for the effort, or near nothing. I mean, I did go, I was in downtown today. I went around the traffic on 41, and there's an underpass that crosses under the railroad tracks. There are a couple minor things that we've gotten from high-speed rail, but really it's not worth the $31 billion, let alone the actual cost if we ever get it built. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
Is it a great idea? Look, I was in in Spain, and I had the opportunity of taking the high-speed train from Madrid out to the coast. Beautiful experience, wonderful experience. Would I like to see that here? Yes. When I travel from Fresno up to Sacramento, I have meetings up there all the time. I take the train. I take Amtrak. I love that experience. I love the people that I get to meet. I think there's other ways we can do what we are trying to do at a lower cost, but there has to be some measures of performance where we need to see some progress, and there has to be accountability for it, because taking more from the public that doesn't have more to give is not the answer.
If people want to find out more about you, where would they find you on social media? Do you have a website?
Yes, thank you for asking. riosforcongress.com is my website. We have Facebook, Instagram. We've got all the different platforms where you can find us there. But go to riosforcongress.com and everything is there made available for you. We also have a YouTube page. But once you get there, you'll be able to volunteer. You'll be able to learn more about us. You can pose questions for us that we'll do our very best to answer. You can ask for a yard sign. We want to hear from you, and we want you to get involved.
Well, the sad part is politics requires money.
Yes.
At least a certain percentage of
Absolutely.
it. Hard work can overcome a lot of it, but not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to be able to still afford the flyer when you walk door to door.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's just expenses. If you want to put an ad anywhere,
Absolutely.
there's a cost. Outside of basic social media, if you want to boost your post, there's a cost on social media.
Well, those digital signs are about $3,000 each. If you see those billboards as you're driving by, that's about $3,000 a month, or $1,000 for a half of those billboards for a month. So they're very expensive. And yes, it does cost a lot of money to connect with the community. And I welcome anyone who would like to contribute. Go to riosforcongress.com. An opportunity to contribute is made available there. But I'll tell you, the most important part that I'd ask from everybody is get involved. Get involved in the races. And anybody who's listening and may watch this, I would ask them, get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. Contact your friends and make sure that they vote. Right now, as of May 4th, everybody's received their mail-in ballots. Many of them will sit on their coffee table until they throw it away. I'm asking them, don't throw away this ballot. There's too much on the line. It's not worth gambling away.
Well, there's some real hope on this ballot.
Absolutely.
It's not just candidates. There's a ballot ID initiative. There's protection for Prop 13. If you're staying, you need to protect Prop 13 so your property tax doesn't go insane. This should drive people to the polls.
We should talk about Prop 13.
Well, we don't have a lot, so it's got to be brief.
No. I guess all I'm really saying is get involved. Prop 13 is one that if we will open up Pandora's box unlike anything we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. The fact that we've been able to cap and not allow anyone to increase that has been godsend. If we allow this to open up, we think it's unaffordable now. We will find ourselves losing homes because people on fixed incomes won't be able to afford their own home because their property taxes go up. You're absolutely right. This is a very important election window. And I just have to say, vote. 30
seconds. Why are you hopeful?
There's a God above. There's good people. And I believe in America. I believe in the Central Valley. And I believe that the change that's necessary can be made. riosforcongress.com is my website. I invite everyone to get involved. Come join me and send me the questions. I look forward to working for you.
Well, folks, I see Lorenzo out all over. If you follow him on social media, you can find him and actually have the opportunity to talk to him yourself. He absolutely has my support in this race.
Thank you.
And, I just got to go back to that idea. With liberty comes responsibility, and now is the time. If there was ever a better opportunity to change the direction of California, it's this election.
Eric, your shirt says it all. We the people will prevail.
Well, we better.
But it requires us to get off the couch and do our part.
Absolutely.
Vote.
Well, I thank you for this time.
No, thank you. riosforcongress.com.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist. You hear that, folks? That's a call to action. Go out there and make a difference. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.